Good evening. My name is Neil Turner, and as an American anthropologist that has lived in Brazil for the past 12 years, speaks the language, and has a fairly good grasp of the culture brasileira, I have found that there are certain conditions that escape the awareness of many Brazilians, particularly in terms of capitalism and democracy. In the area of politics, for example, what a lot of Brazilians, including Brazilian politicians and the elite class, fails to truly understand is the foundations of Western-style liberalism. Not neoliberalism, but Western liberalism. A phenomenon that goes back to the 18th and more clearly the 19th centuries, when kings, popes, princes, and prelates were being toppled and the centrality of the individual and individual sovereignty took hold and fought against hereditary authority. A time when one's own destiny could be manifested through individual initiative, which in turn shaped freedom, liberty, the rule of law, a free press, free market economies, and ultimately human equality. Brazilian elites continue to favor an order and traditional social and economic structure that does not engage new political formulations. It's very much like the karaoke elite of Rio de Janeiro during the time of the Belle Epic of the late 1890s. Their primary concern then and now is continuity of the old order. During the time of abolition and revolution, the elite classes fled to their huge latifundos and haciendas to hide out until all of the turmoil passed. Afterward, they returned to the urban cities and quite effectively infiltrated into the political class in an effort to control the government and regain control of the country. Fast forward a century, and we still see the landed gentry controlling the country. In effect, it could be said that Brazil is a country that is caught in a vicious cycle of neo-colonialism. This, I believe, is one of the underlying reasons why ex-President Lula da Silva was such a threat to the elite, political, and rich business classes in Brazil. Brazil's opportunity to be a successful, functioning democracy has been disrupted by deep-seated corruption that has gone unchecked for decades. Today, forces are converging to reshape Brazilian society. Changes such as global emerging market economies, the historic and unprecedented Petrobras corruption scandal, the impeachment of a democratically elected president, Dilma Rousseff, and the imprisonment of past president Lula da Silva are just some of those disruptive forces. Also, investigations and imprisonment of many members of Brazil's elite political class and high-level corporate executives from some of the country's flagship corporations is having a devastating effect on the country and its economy. At the same time, Brazil faces what seems to be a bevy of insurmountable local issues, such as the Zika virus outbreak, significant hospital and medical facility shortages, a poor education system, exploding violent crime, social unrest, and environmental pollution. Starting in the 1980s, state-led development policies to promote autonomy became counterproductive, and instead of providing a strong foundation for the country's economic growth, these policies paradoxically contributed to certain eviscerating economic situations. For instance, massive financing of certain public sectors led to chronic inflation and a direct impact on the middle class and poor. Also, costs associated with failed economic experiments by the government were passed on to the public. In addition, the government's import substitution industrialization policy led to extensive foreign borrowing, which created intense payment pressures. When we consider the political governing body, we discover that for more than 2 decades following the end of the military dictatorship, a group of rich, right-wing autocrats controlled the government and its decision-making processes. This political class enjoyed complete and unquestionable power and influence. Moreover, instead of meeting challenges to sustain Brazil's growth into the future, they pillaged the public coffers through corruption, threw the country into huge debt, and failed to meet the objectives of investing in social and educational improvements for Brazilians. Now Brazil is in a critical place. It has to make fundamental decisions about getting rid of corruption, restoring investor confidence, attracting private investment, and the government has to prove to the world that it is serious. The country and people really have their own destiny in their hands. They have to decide if they're going to be a model Latin American nation for transformation or not. Currently, they still are trying to have it both ways. As a Brazilian woman so adequately put it, everyone is concerned with how much corruption is in the system, but what they fail to realize is that corruption is the system in Brazil.